Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. Another episode of News and Prophecy, where we go into the things that are happening in the earth, linking them to the Holy Scriptures to show you what times we're in, all right? And for the elect to awaken, as the Scriptures say, it is high time to awake out of sleep, okay? The American dream is over, okay? Babylon the Great, all right, which is America in the Holy Scriptures, is on its way down the drain, okay? And there's various things that are happening in the earth that lead to that, all right? One of the main things we see happening is inflation, which we can go into the Scriptures and show you, okay? That would be one of the main things that led to nations fleeing from this devil and mocking him and scoffing him, okay? That thick clay, we'll get that in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, okay? And if you look at the current administration in office, you know, this Biden administration, they've been pumping money all into the system, all right, which we're going to show you that's going to lead to the devaluing of the dollar, all right, which will be crashed, all right, and they're going to issue forth a digital currency, all right. Tied to that will be a digital all right, which we know what that links to in the Holy Scriptures, okay. We'll get to that, Lord willing, if the Spirit permits. But like I said, this devil, Biden, you know, if you look, he's giving away the bag. You know, everywhere you look, there's goods being given to the poor, you know, extra food stamps, all right, COVID, you know, relief, you know, where you can, you know, get food stamps if you have, you know, children, you know, even for people who weren't on food stamps, all right. There's all sorts of opportunity, you know, just being thrown around, and on face value, it looks like, wow, you know, this is really beneficial for the people. This presidency is doing so much for the people, but what does it lead to behind closed doors is inflation, which is going to lead Babylon the Great into the way of ancient Rome. And we have a video pulled up, queued up here, which is a very good video that would be beneficial to you understanding how the image of the beast is living, all right now, all right, as we read Revelation the 13th chapter and Daniel the 7th chapter. It tells you that there will be a notable horn that issues forth from the fourth beast, and that notable horn, or little horn, is Babylon the Great, which is going to be the revival of ancient Rome. So we're seeing the same things, all right, that happened in ancient Rome take place here in Babylon the Great. All right, the devaluing of the money, all right, immigrants. Back then, there were the barbarians. All right, now we have what you call immigrants, which a lot of this stuff is all systematic, being done by the elites for their purposes. But as the Scriptures say, man's goings are of the Lord. Back then, you had lead in the water. Today, you have fluoride in the water. Okay, there's various different things, you know, the Colosseums. There's various different things that we can look to now that show us that where America is going in the way of the ancient Roman Empire. All right, and all empires fall. Okay, right now you have this devil Trump, you know, going around on some Save America rally. Okay, and America won't be saved. And this guy Trump, all right, he's a part of the whole plan as well, because a lot of the groundwork to pass the legislation to lead into the NWO and to set up mass surveillance and everything was put in when he was in office. All of these devils work together, all right? Remember, Revelation the 13th chapter says he had two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon, all right? But they give you a false sense of choice, freedom through a vote, all right? They give you an opposing ideology or opposing message to rally towards, to divide the people. All right, but when it's all said and done, no one will have rights. Okay, and you're seeing that happen. Okay, and they're all issuing or ushering in a new system. Okay, all of them are for it. Okay, but they just have different means of manipulating of the mind. All right, to lure the people into it. Okay, and we see a whole lot of propaganda happening in the world. But you see, Trump is going around on this. You know, he was in Des Moines, Iowa, and he has this Save America rally. Well, the scriptures say this. Okay, Jeremiah 51:7, because there's a time where something's planted and there's a time where something is rooted out. America was planted for the purpose of prophecy, for the punishment of the Israelites, okay, to have formed this beast system, to fulfill prophecy of Isaac's blessing to Esau, to have the fatness of the earth. But there comes a point where, let's get that in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, because your time is up, devil, okay? Ecclesiastes is the 3rd chapter. In the 1st verse, it says, to everything there is a season, and to every purpose, and a time to every purpose under heaven. Okay. Verse 2 says, a time to be born and a time to die. America was born and America is going to die. Okay. It's going to fall. All empires have fell and America is no different. But it seems as if everyone is in denial, and the main people in denial are our people. All right. A lot of heathen nations know this place is going to fall. Even a lot of Edomites know that this place is on its way down. But they don't understand what's next. We understand what's next. Okay. It says a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And America was planted. Okay. Now it's getting ready to be plucked up. All right. Now that goes into a sense of planting, particular seeds and plucking up the fruit that comes from it. Okay. But we can take that on the level of America being planted and then plucked up as well. Okay. Let's see here. A time to break down and a time to build up. America was built up. Now it's time to break it down. So we're living at the time because Esau never considered the latter end of his actions. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah, the 47th chapter. Okay. Speaking to the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is America. Okay. Let's go to the point. Isaiah 47:7. And this is the mind of Esau, Edom. Thou hast said, I shall be a lady forever. Okay. And women could do wickedness and get support, never have to answer for any of her actions. Okay. And then when she's called out, she loses her mind. She can't take it. Right. Well, that's America, that whore who portrayed herself as a virgin, as this, a great, virtuous woman, but now is being found out what she's really all about. So that's the mindset of Esau, Edom. All right. She sitteth and wipeth her mouth as if she's done no wrong. Well, America has done hella wrong. Okay. You go onto the comment boards, even dealing with boxing, you go onto a comment boards and, you just had this big fight between Fury and Wilder, and you look at the comment board and, Wilder is this big racist for, so-called representing so-called blacks. Any Jake who, has some sort of, which it does get tacky. Don't get it twisted. We ain't about no damn black power and all of that crap. However, there is a struggle that our people have been through. And when you bring it up, these people act as if that's you have no merit as a so-called black man to bring up what happened to your people here in America. Get over it. Whereas these devils don't get over a goddamn thing. They remember everything, whereas you're told you shouldn't remember a damn thing. Okay, get over it. As if where they are now and what they have now, all right, isn't because of what their forefathers did. All right. But they thought that they were going to get away. Well, the scriptures say you would pay through your children. Okay. And the wicked elite, okay, are the offspring of the wicked elite back then, who were at the forefront of this whole enterprise. and now you all are suffering from it. The common and the king and the common, just like in Egypt, are gonna suffer. Okay, it says, so that thou let me read it again, Isaiah 47:7. And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thine heart, neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. Okay, you didn't think about the latter end of your actions. Okay, now it's caught up with you. It says, therefore, hear now this, thou that art given unto pleasures, that dwellest carelessly. Okay, all right, and pumping all of this money into the system, all of these wars, your actions, how you treated the Israelites, how you treated all nations, what you did to the air, the water. There was a very careless acts, okay? That says in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me. You think that you're the most high. Talking about you going to space, okay? Trying to control a life form, trying to get control of souls, which you have to a degree, but it's getting ready to be taken away from you because you're trying to get to that point where your technology and what you have been blessed with is going to make you the most high. Okay. But the latter end is that you're going to pay for all of these things. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Well, yes, you will. And the scriptures talks about how your children will complain of an ungodly father because they're going to be reproached for his sake. Now, going back to the point I had here in Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, in the 7th verse, it says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hands, okay, used for the purpose to forward prophecy, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And which one of the main ways nations commit fornication with Babylon? Taking on that dollar, which is debt. Now you see a lot of these different nations are trying to do what? Operate on different currencies, abandon the dollar. And you'll see why as we do this lesson. It says, so the nations are mad. They're pissed off. Wars in the air. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. Now, balm is for the purpose of healing. Okay, and for so long, this place has just been able to, they've just been able to pump more money into the system to heal Babylon. Well, we're living in the times where that's not going to work. And the collapse of the dollar is near. All right. But what the elite have planned is what? Let's see here. And you should be familiar with this term, CBDCs. All right. Central Bank Digital Currency. This is next. All right. And all signs lead into it. Okay. All signs are leading, okay, to this being the next form of currency. Because the dollar is dead. All right. As you go to particular stores, I went to the gas station yesterday and I saw a sign that says what? We do not accept cash here. Cash is getting ready to be a thing of the past. All right. Why is that? Inflation. Now it's being purposely done by the elite, in which they think they're going to be the phoenix that rises out of the ashes. All right. But the Lord has a whole nother plan for you devils, man. When you're about to fill your belly, okay, sudden destruction is going to come up on you. Okay. Let's see here. I thought I had an article because all nations are pretty much. Here we go. Roughly half of the world's central banks are at some stage of exploring their own digital currencies, IMF says. Okay? And it's only gonna grow. Okay? It's only gonna grow. The dollar is dead. It's getting ready to be obsolete. Okay? So going back here, Jeremiah 51:9 says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. This place ain't going to be healed. America won't be saved. Okay? There's nowhere in the scriptures where the Lord will forget or forgive Babylon the Great or forget your sins. As a matter of fact, when you read Revelation, the 18th chapter, which is the same Babylon we're reading about here in Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, okay? Revelation 18:5, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. So nowhere in the scriptures are you devils forgiven, because you've done a whole hell of a lot. Okay, and you've been able to use manipulation of the minds to be able to point the finger at everyone. But all signs are leading to you being a problem, and you're not going to be able to escape. Now, you are going to put out more propaganda. You are going to come with more false flags. You are going to do things that are going to captivate people's minds. But overall, it won't work. Okay? It won't work. You won't trick the angels. You won't escape the decision that is set for you bound by prophecy. So we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Nations are forsaking the dollar. Okay, nations are, packing up and leaving this place. There's many ways America is being forsaken. And let us go, everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up to the skies. And the Most High is clearly pissed off with this place. Now, going back to this article, Social Security checks going up by 5.9%, which, in the flesh, people were like, whoa, that is great, because Americans have been beaten down. Everybody's broke. Everybody's, trying to figure out the next move to get, extra. So here it is. They've increased Social Security checks, which they're in talks that if this whole thing implodes, that Social Security checks, pension, retirement plans and all of that will be stopped, right? But they've ultimately pumped more money into the system. All right. They said this is the highest increase in decades. Now, why do you think this devil is doing this? Do you think they really care about the people, or is there something happening behind closed doors that the average person doesn't really understand? The average person just sees more money on their check and they're cool. All right. But do they realize that the dollar is being devalued? Okay. You have this crisis where, the boats ain't moving. All right. And when you look at the food, all right, you're needing more dollars, all right, for the same products that you would get years ago for one price. Now you get that same product, all right, but it's lessened. An example is, let's just say a bag of Doritos, okay? Years ago, you can get a small bag of Doritos for 25 cents. When I was growing up, I'm an 80s baby, right? 25 cents. Now that same bag, okay, is, I don't know. I don't eat Doritos, but I believe it's about $1, maybe 75 cents to $1, but it's even less chips in the bag. So that is a sign of inflation. You're paying more for less. Okay, and it's only going to get worse. The meat prices are going up. Okay, and by them pumping more money into the system, as this article says, it's going to lead to inflation. It will show you what inflation is, as we live in a fractional reserve system, all right, where usury and unjust gain is the name of the game. Okay, where the majority of the money is just paper and on a computer. It's not really physical money is not there. True money is supposed to be a measurement of a particular substance: silver, gold, copper, okay, and things like that. Whereas we know, I believe it was FDR eventually they snatched gold from being the standard of money. The last president, as we'll show you, that tried to, put some sort of like silver, I believe, as the standard of money was JFK, and we know what happened to him. But we'll get into all of that in just a minute. Let's read a little bit of this article. Okay. So it says Social Security checks going up by 5.9%, the highest increase in decades. Okay. Now on the front end, okay, yeah, you'll be able to, you got a little bit more on your check, right? But on the back end, all of this is going to implode. Okay. And they know this. That's why you see all of these loans and all of the niggas are able to just go get $20,000 a PPP loan. Then they charge you with fraud. But outside of the PPP loan, there's so much opportunity to just go get the bag. Why do you think this is happening? You think the devil all of a sudden, he became nice? No, he knows what he's doing. All you have to do is go back to ancient Rome and look at what this would lead to. This is why you have to know history, okay, to truly understand the future. Okay, about 64 million people who receive Social Security benefits will begin to receive a bigger check from the federal government in January. All right, now it was just this big fuss about the government needed a bigger loan. They needed to increase the amount of money loaned into them. Okay, and they said if it doesn't go through, your Social Security checks could stop. 401ks could, bank accounts can be stopped, stocks and bonds, and that's the future. That's coming. All right, for the greater enslavement. As the system collapses, your only way back in is to go digital. And what will that eventually lead to? According to the Bible, how will you be able to buy and sell in this new, in this fourth industrial revolution? It says the Washington Social Security Administration announced Wednesday that recipients will receive nearly a nearly 6% increase. Why didn't they just make it 6? Everything surrounding this whole thing that's happening has 6 on it. So they should have just made it 6. It says, but it says, hey, 5.9, 6 is near. All right. Because the man of sin has a number tied to him, according to the scriptures. Well, it says the boost in benefits will affect nearly 70 million people, which will affect nearly 70 million people, is being fueled by a spike in inflation. See that? Now let's look up the definition of inflation. See if we can get a quick definition on that. All right, the action of inflating something or the condition of being inflated. A quick example is, if you go on Instagram, if you walk outside, you see all of this booty. There's booty every goddamn where, to where it's to the point where it's devalued. It's like, all right, oh man, another booty. It's just booty every goddamn where. To the point where just seeing a booty, it's no longer exciting. All right, everybody got on tights. It's just booty everywhere. Even when you're not trying to look at booty. Like, damn. So there's an inflation of booty, right? And I'm being funny, but that is an example. It's just everywhere. It's not rare. Okay. Some more quality than others, but ultimately it's just too much booty, right? To where the value has decreased. Okay. The action of inflating something or the condition of being inflated. All right. But in economics, it says a general increase in prices and fall in the value of money. So the value of money is falling while the prices of goods are increasing. And we'll show you how that happens. And that's basically what happened in ancient Rome. So the boost in benefits will affect nearly 70 million people. Okay. Is being fueled to be a spike in inflation caused by the supply chain bottlenecks, worker shortages, and other economic disruptions from the COVID pandemic. Okay. It says the larger checks will begin to arrive for most recipients in January. Okay. At the end of December, about 8 million recipients of Social Security's SSI income program, which is for people who are disabled or receive little income, will start to receive increased payments. And this is for people who haven't paid into Social Security. You have Social Security, either retirement or disability, where you pay into the system through work. All right. And then you have SSI, which is based on need. Okay. For people with low or no income, they have a SSI, and that's where a lot of the immigrants are coming over winning, because you get Medicaid and so forth. All right. So even they're going to get a spike. It says, rising inflation contributed to the Social Security Administration determining that the cost of a living adjustment, or COLA, will be 5.9% for 2022. It says data released Wednesday, showed that prices rose by 5.4% on an annualized basis, and the inflation rate rose a seasonally adjusted 0.4% in September from August. So we're going to keep reading on this article, but let's go to this video real quick to show you that what's happening here in America took place in ancient Rome. All right, fall of empires, Rome versus the USA, the hidden secrets of money, which is actually a good series, but we're going to play this part here. All right, let's start.
Debasing a nation's currency supply to pay for public works and war is a pattern that just repeats and repeats throughout history, and it's a pattern that always ends badly.
You see that? Let's roll it back. Let's just listen to him again.
Debasing a nation's currency supply to pay for public works and war is a pattern that just repeats and repeats throughout history, and it's a pattern that always ends badly. In this double episode, we're going to create a timeline to show the similarities between ancient Rome and the United States today.
The similarities between ancient Rome and the United States today. All right. Let's get Revelation, the 13th chapter, real quick. Why are there so many similarities? Okay. Revelation 13 and 11, I beheld another beast, America, all right, which is that notable horn in Daniel, the 7th chapter, that issued forth from the fourth beast. All right. And the end would come through the fourth beast, but it would fall at one point and be revived. This was its revival, starting at the Renaissance period, leading all the way up to Babylon the Great. Okay. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Okay. We always go over that. Okay. And we're seeing the draconian measures coming. And once that dollar crashes, that's going to be another means for them to bring forth more draconian measures. Okay. And they're going to have a leverage over you by saying your only way to buy and sell is do this, do that. All right. The only paper money is obsolete. The scriptures say they're going to, their gold and silver, all right, will be cast into the streets. Forget what I said. Let's see. It's in the book of Ezekiel. Yep, Ezekiel 7 and 19. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. All right. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the days of wrath. Okay. And we know that silver and gold were taken from behind the dollar. All right. So the dollar is going to be cast in the streets. Okay. And those who boasted in all of the money that they had. All right. Look, in order to enter into the new system, you're only going to get a portion of what you had. So you people are about to lose, and your riches will not be able to deliver you in a day of wrath. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity, the people who trusted in this system. Okay. Now, going back here to Revelation, the 13th chapter. So this beast that came up out of the earth, Babylon the Great, had two horns like a lamb. You had the plebeians and the patricians in ancient Rome. You have the Democrats and Republicans here. All right. Speaking as a dragon. And what does it say? And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast. All right. Before him. Now, who was the first beast before him? That was ancient Rome. He's exercising all of the same power as the first beast. And we have various videos that we do to prove to you that the image of the beast is not speaking of merely an image of so-called white Jesus. No, it's speaking of a system, a way that has been rebirthed into the earth. The way of ancient Rome is back through the Renaissance, and it was fulfilled through America, all right, the NATO and the EU. The beast system was established in the earth again. And when you look at the EU countries and you look up the territory of the ancient Roman Empire, you'll clearly see that it's the same. So we're living in Rome all over again. And America exercises all the power of the first beast that was before him, and causes the earth and them which dwelleth in therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. Now, what does it mean his deadly wound was healed? Going up here, Revelation 13:3, and I saw one of his heads, because there's 7 heads. You have the Greeks, the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, all right, the French, the Spanish. You have the British, which is the 7th, which out of the British comes America. That's why it says in Revelation, the 17th chapter, that the 8th is of the 7th. All right, because America came out of the British. Okay, but one of his heads that was, as it were, wounded here in Revelation, the 13th chapter. I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. All right, when the Western Roman Empire fell. Okay, and then Jake started to rule. You had what is known as the Byzantine Empire. Okay, but the head was wounded unto death. Rome, Esau's power, that system fell. And this deadly wound was healed, and the whole world wondered after the first beast. And this goes directly with what's written in Daniel the 7th chapter, really quick. Okay, Daniel the 7th chapter. It talks about the 4th beast. All right, Daniel 7:7. And I beheld, and after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, which is Rome, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. Okay. His army is military, and it devoured, had great iron teeth, took down the different nations. Okay. They had a senate to where they ruled differently on how they set up their emperors and rulers. Okay. And it had 10 horns, which are the vassal states that make it a beast system. When you go to verse 8, it says, and I considered the horns, and there came up among them another little horn. Okay, that little horn is that beast, all right, with who had 2 horns like a lamb, but spake as a dragon, which the end is going to come through this. So this is letting you know that this Roman Empire fell, but this little horn brought it back. Okay, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. All right, the French, the Spanish, the British. And I beheld in his horn were eyes like the eyes of men, their great science, and he spake great things. All right, speaking rebellion against the Most High. That's what this whole system is based upon. So going back to Revelation 13th chapter, okay, this beast, America, exercises the same power and authority as the Roman Empire. So the same way that Rome fell is the same way this place is going to fall as well. Okay. And let's look at some similarities in the monetary system that we can look at today.
Just like the USA, Rome started out as a republic after overthrowing a monarchy. So let's begin with their early economy in around 500 BC. In the early days of the Roman Republic, for the first 178 years, there's no evidence of big inflation. They were using gold and silver coinage mostly as their currency. Small denominations were made out of copper and bronze. Then Hannibal of Carthage starts to harass Rome in something called the Second Punic War. And to pay for this war, they did deficit spending by taking the coins that they took in taxes, melting them down, and adding cheap and abundant base metals, such as copper, so that they could mint more coins. This caused a big inflation.
And you can look up the denarius. The denarius was devalued. They added clay, lesser metals. Okay, so it lost its value, just like America's dollar is losing its value. And they're in war everywhere, but you have to fund those wars. So they're in the trick bag. Okay? And they just keep saying we're going to just keep pumping money into the system. We're going to keep bailing it, this out, that out. But eventually that's going to lead to what we're talking about. Okay? The bubble is going to pop. So here it is, Rome, to pay for these wars, they had to devalue the currency. Let's look at that again, just real quick.
In the early days of the Roman Republic, for the first 178 years, there's no evidence of big inflation. They were using gold and silver coinage mostly as their currency. Small denominations were made out of copper and bronze. Then Hannibal of Carthage starts to harass Rome in something called the Second Punic War. And to pay for this war, they did deficit spending by taking the coins that they took in taxes, melting them down, and adding cheap and abundant base metals, such as copper, so that they could mint more coins. This caused a big inflation, and the inflation was one of the factors that brought the Roman Republic down to a dictatorship, the Roman Empire.
Right? See, it took it from a republic to a dictatorship, and we're leading towards a dictatorship right now. All right? You see a lot of people are saying Biden's a dictator. Well, of course. He's going to become even more of a dictator as the money devalues and they're entering into the CBDCs, all right, the central bank digital currency. So, of course, they're giving you extra money and they're pumping more money into the system. There's a reason behind that. This man is the devil, right? That's why the scriptures say never trust your enemy. Our people are getting ready to lose because they don't have any idea what's happening.
Most of Rome's gold and silver was stored in vaults under the floor of their treasury, which was also known as the Temple of Saturn.
And who got the gold now? The elites. It's out there in London. But the Temple of Saturn, which those same gods are all worshipped here in America. All right, even looking at these temples, the courthouses and things look just like this today. Even going back to Petra, look up Petra. All right, where the Edomites dwelt. The same building, showing you these are the Edomites as well, because they try to run from that.
If you visit Rome, go to the Forum in the center of the city, where you can still find the ruins of the temple today. And here's something I found really interesting. The U.S. Treasury in Washington, D.C. has almost exactly the same design.
The U.S. Treasury in D.C. has the same design. All right, they're exercising the power of the first beast before them. Clearly, the image of the beast is way deeper than just some white Jesus for you Israelite camps out there that's still using that played out, dry, decrepit breakdown. Supposed to be scholars, man.
So now let's start filling in our timeline of events to keep track of the major similarities between Rome and the USA. We just learned that the early Roman Republic enjoyed a long period of practically no inflation because they used sound money, pure gold and silver. Interestingly, the United States started on the same path.
From the late 1700s to the early 1900s, prices were very stable thanks to laws that mandated the use of gold and silver as money, and our people were not robbed by inflation. But in both instances, it was the ongoing debasement of the money for war spending and public works that led to economic chaos.
That's why the Lord blessed him with the sword, so he can have that issue. Esau's in constant friction. The hammer of the earth is being taken down, man. All right. But it was more of a stable economy. All right. When the laws, all right, made it to where gold and silver were the standard, all right, of money. Okay. You can look up, the Rothschilds, the Medici family, and their banking methods and all of that. But that's a whole nother lesson for a whole nother time, because remember the Rothschilds, there was a point where they took everybody's money, which this is later in history from what we're learning about here in ancient Rome. But they took everybody's gold and said, we'll give you a certificate, all right, in place of your gold. All right. Well, eventually those certificates, which we know as dollars today, because the certificate certifies something. It means there's a standard backing it. Well, what backs the money today? Absolutely nothing.
Tell us the parallels between Rome and what's happening in the United States today.
Well, they're obviously two very different societies, but there are some broad parallels. Rome was a republic. They made sure they had two people each year who were the rulers, the consuls. They always changed because the Romans were worried. They'd had a monarchy before, very unpopular. They overthrew it, so they didn't want anyone getting too many powers. What did in Rome? No surprise, excessive taxation and debasing the money.
When you look at the coinage, it started out being an exact measure of copper for the sestertii and silver for the denarii, and by the time it was all over, worth absolutely nothing, with perhaps a wash of silver to make it look like the original thing, which is exactly what we're doing now. So this pattern is repeated.
See? Exactly what we're doing now.
Worth absolutely nothing, with perhaps a wash of silver to make it look like the original thing, which is exactly what we're doing now. So these patterns repeat themselves. They always repeat themselves.
The Romans were the first culture to understand that a currency maintains its value because of its rarity. Julius Paulus once said,
a currency maintains its value. All right, let's listen to that again.
a currency maintains its value because of its rarity.
Because of its rarity. Very interesting.
Julius Paulus once said, "This device, being officially promulgated, circulates and maintains its purchasing power not so much from its substance as from its quantity."
Even still, the Romans never stopped churning out more currency, just like the USA today and the ancient Greeks before them.
Just like the USA today and the ancient Greeks before them. Pumping all of these empty dollars into the system. Okay, the dollar has lost its value. It's not rare anymore. Pretty soon, people are going to be wiping their ass with it and even eating it because they're starving.
But in their race to debase, the Romans came up with some new twists of their own.
The first of these twists was coin clipping. Whenever a Roman would enter a government building, they'd simply clip the edge off of their gold or silver coin. They would save up all of those clippings, melt them down, and mint more coins, expanding the currency supply. And when that wasn't enough, they developed the art of revaluation, where you just take a coin and you stamp a new value on it. You got 100.
And this happens in fractional reserve banking. You all right? Well, where on the books in the computer is maybe $1 million in the bank, but physical cash, all right, it's only 100,000. But like we say, they're able to loan out the rest of the 900,000 with interest. So it's just all of this empty money. And what happens to the people? They become more and more in debt. And that's how they ultimately are trapping you into the system, through debt. One of the many ways they're trapping you. Okay, which Habakkuk goes into that. All right. This is the book of Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea. All right. So the just start at 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Because you'll ask all of these questions. You'll ask, well, why? I mean, they have gold. They have all of these why don't they just do right? Well, his soul ain't right. And he's going to come to a point where he's going to hone in on world domination. He's going to want your soul. He's going to tell you have to do this and do that to buy and sell. So the just are going to have to live by faith. And we're coming up on those times. It's over. All right. Look up Carl Schwab, that fourth industrial revolution. You're going to change. All right. That's what he said. The people change. The system changed, but the people are going to have to change too. What is the change that's going to happen to the people? Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Just like the ancient Roman Empire, they were too spread thin. They're scattered all over the world, trying to take over and do this and do that. Got their nose in everyone's business, to where they weren't home to defend the attack that happened on them. Right? Well, that's going to happen here as well. All right. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. He wants everything under his control, on a database, to be monitored, to be tracked. Okay, the digital currency, to where physical money no longer works, that's going to put a strain on your barbers, your mechanics. All right, you ain't going to be able to do anything outside of their grips. Okay, because the dollar is only still a power because of what? The sword, the petrodollar, and the fact that it's accepted as a means to get goods. Well, that's changing as we go down this rabbit hole of Esau's BS. Habakkuk 2 and 6. Shall not all of these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth in that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And this is what's happening worldwide, as these different nations are calling him out and trying to separate even his own EU nations that are aligned with him. Well, he thought were aligned with him, that were aligned with him for a time, because via prophecy, those allies are gonna flee his ass and form other systems to currency wise, and to destroy his ass. But that thick clay, he ladeth himself with thick clay, is the Hebrew word is ibat yat. Okay, weight of pledges, heavy debts. And this is how he traps you. This is how he enslaves nations. I mean, this dude enslaves nations of people, man. Enslaves continents, countries, overthrows governments. So those heavy debts, all right, those heavy debts are ultimately, all right, which the root word, I bought a pledge for a debt. Okay. And see, when we get the kingdom, we're going to loan and give out. We're not going to have to borrow, and we won't use paper money. We'll have the earth and its resources as our, because when you go to the Federal Reserve, they tell you true money started out as gold, silver, all right, beaver skin, salt. Where did all of these things come from? The Creator. Now, what are you operating on? Paper money. which when you look at the history of paper money, so I have here some information on the dollar. Okay. Now, check this out. It says these are silver certificates. Okay. On them states, this certifies that there is on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America some number, all right, dollars and silver payable to the bearer on demand. The amount of silver redeemable was approved in Section 9 of the 1792 Coinage Act. As that video we're showing you told you that there was a point in time, all right, where America operated on a system where you can actually trade in your dollars and redeem silver or gold. All right. It says the 1792 Coinage Act, all right, which states that a dollar is equivalent to 371.25 grains of pure silver. 1 troy ounces equal to 480 troy grains. All right. These silver certificates began to disappear from circulation between the 1940s and the 1950s because they were immediately shredded once redeemed for silver due to a diminishing store of silver bullion in the treasury vaults. Silver certificates were officially abolished by Congress on June 4th, 1963, and all redemption in silver ceased June 24th, 1968. Now, something important is that there was a particular president, okay, real quick, there was a particular president, JFK, who tried to restore silver to the dollar, and then immediately his ass died. Okay. See here, it says given that the dollar is predicted to fall off the cliff in the near future, it is no surprise that the push for sound money is gaining more and more followers. Which you would think that that's what they would do, right? It says, and the idea of owning gold or silver is becoming popular. You see that now, right? Critics scoff at the idea of sound money as a dangerous fantasy that can severely damage our economy, as if our economy wasn't damaged enough already. It says, however, the push for sound money has a fairly recent history. All right. On June 4th, 1963, President Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110. In short, it was an order for the Treasury to issue certificates backed by silver bullion, as well as to mint silver dollars that would be considered money. These silver certificates took the form of dollars, all right, for the most part, and the notes would say that whatever the denomination on the bill was, it would be repaid in silver to the bearer on demand. Simply put, if you had $1, it was worth $1 in silver. Okay, as you even look, we can just type in, like I got pulled up $5. Notice here is just $5. It's not, you can't redeem anything with it, right? Now, looking at the ancient money, okay, look, it's $10, but it said in silver payable to the bearer on demand. So the older money was backed by something, but peep this out. It says, going back here, so you don't see that on these modern dollars. See? It's empty. It's a debt note. It's through. All right. So you go here. It says, unfortunately, the executive order didn't stand the test of time. That November, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, sparking conspiracy theories that the Federal Reserve had its hand in his death. All right? So you can look that up more. So it says, as you read down, yada, 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 Treasury Secretary C. Douglas Dillon halted the swap of silver certificates for silver dollars on June 24th, 1968. Barely 5 years since the executive order was announced, swapping dollars for silver coins ended, and America went right back into the exclusive Federal Reserve System. Which who owns the Federal Reserve? The elites. Okay, to keep your ass in slavery, so you don't own nothing. And you have people walking around with all these stacks of money. You just wait. Okay? So it says here, June 4th, 1963, all redemption in silver ceased on June 24th, 1968. All right, it says in the late 20s, higher denominations were gold certificates. The bearer could redeem his or her certificate in gold under the same Section 9 of the 1792 Coinage Act. A dollar was equivalent to 24.75 grains of pure gold, as you can see. So the old $20 bills, if you look at the bottom, $20 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. So you would be able to go to the banks and demand your gold, right? The changing face of U.S. money. See, the U.S. dollar changed from a currency backed up by a tangible asset to a fiat currency, that being a paper note backed up by government promises. Nothing. By looking at the history of American paper money, one can clearly see the distinction. Compare the images of the following historic dollars to the one in your wallet today. All right, look at the old $1 bill. Is that at the bottom of your $1 bill? No. Absolutely not. Let's read a little bit more. It says, there is some question as to the constitutional legality of Federal Reserve notes, of the Federal Reserve notes we use today. According to Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution, no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. Well, the Constitution is done, son. That's why these devils always bring up George Washington. He warned us of this. He sure did. Well, the scriptures warn you of your destruction too. It says, what we have today regarded as U.S. money are not dollar bills. There is no longer any paper currency or fixed concept of value known as a dollar bill, because it's not measured in anything. Okay? But a fake promise. Empty. We carry and transact businesses with Federal Reserve notes. They merely represent the concept of a dollar bill. Okay? If ever, this is George Washington, if ever our nation stumbles upon unfounded paper, it shall surely be the death to our body politic. This country will crash. George Washington. Well, hey, the scripture said it first. All right. That's something else. All right, so we're back. Play a little bit more of this. We'll pretty much close it out.
That simple.
The move away from precious metals to something less than precious metals, and the Roman Empire famously clipped their coins. This was a debasement of the currency. There wasn't a paper currency, but it was a debasement of the currency. In the U.S., there's a very interesting phenomenon going on where they're not clipping coins, but when you go to the supermarket, you find that the portions of the items at the supermarket on sale are shrinking. You know, the servings on various other consumer products are getting smaller and smaller, but this price is the same. So it's very similar to that old Roman coin clipping trick from 2000.
And that's a sign of inflation, as the prices of foods are going up. Okay, here's an article. And Shalom to the priest, Ibadia, or Ibadia. It says prices continue to rise. All right, this is off of CNBC. Here's what's getting the most expensive. Okay, so prices are rising. Okay, it says consumers are paying a little bit more for just about everything than they did a month ago. How about years ago? How about when I first went to college? You can get a gallon of gas, all right, for 89 cents. Okay, in 2000, right? Now, you happy to see 289. You happy to see 240. It's the same gallon though, right? And the value of the damn gas is going down. All right, to where you got to get the most expensive one. It says and that's even a bad value. Okay, it says they're paying significantly more than they did for the same goods in 2020. The Consumer Price Index, which measures changes, all right, and how much Americans pay for certain goods, rose 0.4% in September, and the Labor Department reported Wednesday, driven largely by increases in food, shelter, and gasoline. Year over year, prices increased, all right, 5.4%, the largest jump since January 1991. It's a continuation of the inflationary trend consumers have experienced for nearly all of 2021. How much worse do you think it's going to get? That's why the Lord eventually is going to have to end it. Here's how much prices have increased over the past year in key categories. Rental cars, gas, you see the numbers there, TVs, furniture, electricity, everything's too damn high. Rent. Okay. What's causing inflation? The swings in price can largely be attributed, all right, to the pandemic for a number of reasons. Car prices, for example, rental cars are high as hell right now. You better off getting your ass a skateboard. Car prices, for example, are being pushed. Or what's some things you get your children where they ride them? They put their feet on them and go back and forth. Your ass be falling off. So you take that to the store. Forget the name of them. It says, for example, cars are being pushed up thanks to a combination of an ongoing chip shortage and low inventory and other factors. At the same time, airfare and other travel expenses look so much more expensive today relative to 2020 because no one was flying a year ago, thus depressing prices. All right, they got to make their money back. Hotels, everything's higher, man. Okay, because these people are trying to keep their businesses afloat, right? While the economists have insisted for months that inflation is temporary, prices have continued ticking up. Okay, everyday Americans are left feeling the sting in their bank account. Today, wages grew just 4.6. The wages don't make up for everything else going up. Okay. It says in September compared to prior a year ago, far below the 5.4% year-to-year price increase. All right. And you can read the rest of this article. All right. While some of the so-called transitory factories like used car prices, airfares, and apparel continue to ease after sharp run-ups in earlier months, inflation is broadening out, says McBride, chief financial analyst at Bankrate. Housing prices are worrisome, shelter costs, and much, much more. So this article speaks to what this video is saying. Okay, let's back it up just a little bit.
Going on, where they're not clipping coins, but when you go to the supermarket, you find that the portions of the items at the supermarket on sale are shrinking. You know, the servings on various other consumer products are getting smaller and smaller, but this price is the same. So it's very similar to that old Roman coin clipping trick from 2,000 years ago. It's another form of currency debasement, but it's hidden through cardboard and marketing and fancy presentation. But the people are nevertheless having their currency debased.
So why should you care about this? The quality of a society is directly proportional to the quality of its money. Stable money leads to stable prices, which leads to a stable society, whereas debasement of the currency leads to the demise of empires.
The major reason for Rome's ongoing currency debasement was to pay for their ever-expanding empire and never-ending wars. The precious metals content of their coinage fell further and further until it had next to no connection with the pure gold and silver that had initially provided them with a stable economy. Cut to today, and we see the same pattern. Up until the outbreak of World War I, the United States had very high levels of precious metals in its coinage, and treasury notes were backed by gold at a 1-to-1 ratio. From there, the USA debased its currency more and more to pay for World War II, the Korean War, and then the Vietnam War, until finally the link between gold and the US dollar was severed completely. For those new to the series, let's revisit the pivotal event that has managed to sneak under the radar of modern historians as nothing more than a side note.
See that?
Even though it will have repercussions for generations to come. It was an unprecedented act of global debasement by a modern wannabe emperor that would make any Roman ruler hang his head in shame.
Most people think that President Nixon's criminal activities were limited to wiretapping and spying on the competition. But his greatest crime came on August 15th, 1971, when he severed the last ties between the dollar and gold, when he ended the Bretton.
Now, earlier I said FDR, but this is who I was talking about. Slovakia, my mistake.
Woods system.
I directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
The Bretton Woods system tied all of the world's currencies to gold through the US dollar. But instead of running out and hanging the guy when he took us the world off of gold, the world just yawned and accepted that we were now on a fiat currency system.
Because people are drunk off of the wine, man. The prey departed not. All right? Which you Israelites are the main prey. I mean, you just looking for the any new news or whatever way so you can just sit your ass down and relax. You can't even sit down and think. So anything they throw out there, you don't question it.
We were now on this infinitely expanding system, that we no longer had money, we had currency.
Money should be a fixed measure of value. It's like 5,280 feet in a mile, or 12 inches in a foot. I gave the example. Imagine trying to build a house, say 2,500 square feet. If the foot changed each day, it was 12 inches one day, 10 the next, 20 the next. Very hard to do if that's changing. Or the clock.
I like, yeah, this.
The 60 minutes an hour. Imagine if they floated the clock. So you had 60 minutes an hour one day, 30 the next, 90 the next. You'd soon have to have hedges, derivatives, futures to figure out how many hours you're working. You're baking a cake. I love this example. and it says bake the batter for 45 minutes. Then you have to figure out, is that inflation adjusted minutes? Is it a California minute, a Nevada minute? Just makes life infinitely complicated. So when you have a fixed measure, when you go to the market, you assume if you're getting 16 ounces of liquid, it's 16, not 13, not 18. Just makes commerce, which is the source of wealth, people doing things with each other, infinitely easier.
So you can finish watching this. Very good. It's off of Gold and Silver with Mike Maloney. Real good series. Let's get a few scriptures real quick. Let's get the book of Micah 6 and 10. So it's time to depart from this place. These people are setting you all up for the okie doke. They're giving you all of these goodies and this and that. And as soon as you think everything is all good, they're going to say peace and safety. Your ass going to have to take a chip. All right. This is Micah 6. Let's see here. It says, are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, in the scant measured that is abominable? So shall I count them pure with the wicked balances in the bag of deceitful weights. Let's see what this says in the NLT. Okay. This all applies to you Edomites now, man. This is Micah 6 and 10 in the NLT. It says, what shall I say about the homes of the wicked, filled with the treasures gained by cheating? You see, you devils don't play on even fair playing field. All right. What about the disgusting practice of measuring out grain with dishonest measures? Wow. How can I tolerate your merchants who use dishonest scales and weights? The rich among you have become wealthy through extortion and violence. Your citizens are so used to lying that their tongues can no longer tell the truth. Therefore, I will wound you and I will bring you to ruin for all of your sins. And Israel was doing this. All right. But this now applies to you devils, man. Okay. As the scriptures say in James, the 5th chapter. Okay. James 5 and 1. We're going to read it in NLT. All right. Look here, you rich people, weep and groan with anguish because of all the terrible troubles ahead of you. Okay. Your wealth is rotting away and your fine clothes are moth-eating rags. Your gold and silver have become worthless. The very wealth you were counting on will eat away your flesh like fire. It's going to cause a war, man, the way you're dealing. This treasure you have accumulated will stand as evidence against you in the day of judgment. So the way you rule the earth, all right, is going to be a witness against you. Your monetary system, your fractional reserve banking, it's all going to be a witness against you. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers, Jake, whom you have cheated of their pay. Okay, because in the scriptures, you're supposed to pay a man the same day he works, but for the purposes of holding out taxes, you pay a man every 2 weeks. Okay, every week or every month. So you can tax them heavily. Okay, the wages you held back cry against you. Your cries, the cries of those who harvest your fields, have reached to the Lord of heaven's armies, which is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, man. You have spent your years on earth in luxury, satisfying your every desire, which links with Isaiah, the 47th chapter. You have fattened yourselves for the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the innocent people who do not resist you. And Jake is just now starting to resist you a little bit. But for the most part, our people still, want to be under you, man. Well, the way you rule in your monetary system is a witness that you're going down. And you elite think you're going to play the most high in the background, but hey, the Lord sees you, man. All right. Proverbs 16 and 11. The Lord demands accurate scales and balances. He sets the standard for fairness. Now, even in our kingdom, you'll never have as much as us, and we will be able to, apply usury, but it won't be on this level. It won't be to this wicked, way you've done, man. Because in the script, in the kingdom, Deuteronomy 28. Let me turn it back to King James. Deuteronomy 28 and 12. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure. The heaven will I give to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. So we're going to lend, and we can apply usury, okay, unto the heathen. But the way you've done it is absolutely satanic and evil, man. It's not fair. At the end of the day, our kingdom it won't be on an even playing field. You'll never have what we have. You won't have the laws in you, but you will be all right. It won't be to a point where you're just utterly destroyed unless you go off. Okay. Then we'll judge you. But, overall, I just wanted to go through that. We're definitely living in the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. There's a lot going on around us that, definitely tie us to the same thing, moral decay, the decay of the money, the decay of, gender, roles, all of that. Okay. So with that, hopefully you're edified on to the next. Shalom.